Start recording. Okay. So I'd like to welcome those who joined us to our first ever Zoom town hall meeting. I'd like to welcome Mark Lighterman and Jerry Vergatos, who are candidates for president this year. Got a list of questions. So I was going to cover a couple of the rules that I talked about on the board the other day. The only people speaking should be the two candidates and myself. So please don't chime in, even if you think it might be necessary. So I ask everyone else to mute their microphones. No ridiculousness, sign holding, shooting the bird or whatever you're going to feel like doing. So none of that stuff going on. So I'm going to ask a series of questions. I will go back and forth between Mark and Jerry. I've got them categorized. I plan to, since there's 26 questions, I was hoping to keep this under an hour and a half, 2 hours at the maximum. So I'm thinking maybe 5 minutes each question. So once I ask a question, I guess we're going to try to keep at about 2 minutes answer or less per person. Some of them will be real quick answers. Some of them might take a little bit longer, but we'll see how that goes along. Okay, so the first topic I have are going to be general. I got 3 general questions, and I guess we'll go ahead and start with Jerry on this one, and then Mark will get the next one. So Jerry, answer this one first. If elected, what are the top 2 or 3 priorities that you'd like to accomplish or change during the next 2-year term?
The membership is number one. We need to get membership moving. We need to make sure that we understand that this is not a 1-man or 2-man operation. Membership is something we all have to do. We can all host events in our local areas. We can all try to get people that we know that have some interest in collecting into our club. If we were to get 1 or 2 people for every member that we have to join, we could double our numbers easily. I've done the Silverton event. I did a year and a half ago. I got 44 new members join in 1 day. And because I offered incentives, I talked to people, and it just took 1 day and the time, and that's all it takes. And if we could run those kind of events, that would be a great way to get members in. The thing that we do is once we get these new members in, what do we do to keep them? Because, what do we offer? Everything that we can offer them is in membership, they can get for free anyway. So we need to, out of the 44 members that I signed up, I don't think probably less than half of them rejoined after a year. And you got to say why. Well, did anybody reach out to them? Did anybody talk to them? Did anybody try to connect with them? We have something that I want to do is an ambassador program. Now we have a mentor program, and I want to enhance that to where we break up the world or the country or the state or wherever into sections where one person can contact those new members, specifically contact them at least once a month to connect with them and to understand what they're doing, what they like, what they don't like, and welcome them to the club. I would also like to see that when we have new members join, that we post them on our club website so that everybody can welcome them and talk to them. And also in the magazine where we post their names that they joined, put their email address so that our members can contact them so that we can have connection. We got to connect with these people. Just getting them to sign up doesn't mean anything. We get a bump, in our membership. We have to pay for the newsletter or the magazine for them to get it, but we don't make anything out of it. But we want participation. And then also, I'd like to see them volunteer automatically. Tell them, hey, you've been assigned, what area would you like to do, and try to get them to volunteer. Not necessarily at the convention, but any of the club activities. Okay, we've got MOG activities, we've got local activities. We can find something to connect them. That's what is the most important thing, I think.
Okay, good answer. Right. Mark, same question. If elected, what are your top 2 or 3 priorities you'd like to accomplish or change in the next term?
Well, I agree with Jerry. Member benefits are the main concern. Everything they get is free, including the journal, the rest. I would like to see possibly moving the chip guide into a members only area. Reason for that is that Conecuh just got back their Conacher master list, which is of all the double dies and the rest. It rivals the chip guide in the number of photos and images and the rest. And there we have over 500,000 images and a listing and the rest. Since we took it back and the rest, and we're trying to get it online, which is what I'm currently working on, we have increased membership in the last 2 months, stating that this will be a member-only privilege by 100 members since it was announced in December, just bringing it in and telling it that they have to be a member to have access to it. Number 2 is getting the structure. As we are growing, the problem is that we don't have an internal structure of what we are doing to, Jerry has always said, look outside the box. Well, I'm looking outside the box and that stuff. And as we are growing, we're not building the support as we are getting bigger. There are problems in the rest with our non-for-profits and the rest. And I would like to get this straightened out so we can continue to grow and continue growing at the expansion we are. And with membership, he's right. The thing is that the general process, and with any other organization, is that if you can get them in for 3 years, as they're paying themselves without any incentives or anything like that, you'll generally keep them for a lot longer than that. ANA just had a thing where, and I'm sure a lot of the members here took it, you could get a free year membership being a member of the ANA. They increased their rolls by 3,000 members. We're going to watch that drop down. The 3,000, probably none of them are going to, very few of them will renew. I saw that at a local club. They came and they said, I came in, I never heard anything in the rest. Why should I do anything? And it was a free membership. They never even logged on to the site. So those are the 3 things. So we're trying to keep the members, keep them coming back after the 3 years,
Okay, thank you guys for that one. I'm going to send this next one to Mark first. And that question is, what experiences do you have that you feel would benefit the club in the position of president?
I have been president of FUN, which is a 3,000 member organization, non-for-profit, which holds the show, which is larger than ANA, which has about 600 tables. I've worked with TAMS as their secretary, as their treasurer. I've planned their banquets. I've been with Coneca as their president. I am now on the board of directors as a special officer with the ANA. I have access to all of these resources. I have access to people and that stuff in all areas and that stuff, including friends who are presidents of other organizations who are current IRS agents, which we talk about at the table.
Okay. You still there with us, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay. You glitched for just a second.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I just want to make sure. Okay. Okay, Jerry, same question. What experiences do you have that you feel would benefit the club in a position of president?
The experience that I have is mostly with the club. I joined it 10 years ago. I've been involved with almost every facet of the club. My past experiences, I've been on the board of directors of the Denver section of the Mercedes-Benz Club. I've been a member of a couple of social clubs in Denver. And so I've dealt with a different, diverse type of people. When you're dealing with Mercedes type people, they have cars worth $300,000. And so you have a different type of person there. But mostly my experience has been with the local club. I'm president of the Silver Strikers Club. I'm president of the local SNCCC Club. And those have given me a whole broad spectrum of what the hobby is all about. I've learned a lot. I talk to people a lot. I get involved. I don't sit anywhere on the sidelines. I try to be very approachable to anyone that wants to talk and wants to tell me what they think. And I try to keep an open mind. I think that's important.
Thank you very much. Okay, third question. I'm going to throw this one to Jerry first. A little bit of a long question, but do you believe the CCA should devote resources to attracting the attention of the casino industry? And they say in the past, these efforts have had limited results. What else should we try? Or is this not a productive activity for our time and resources? So basically, asking question is, should we try to involve more of the casino people?
Well, we have Ted Whiting, who is also in the club now, is one of the vice presidents of security, and he's brought in a few members also that are in the casino industry. We've had some local speakers on the local club, which is not affiliated with the CCA, but we've had industry people from Konami, we've had people from IGT come in, and from GPI. So it's important that we do get those kind of contacts. And it's not easy because a lot of them look at us as a fringe group in some ways, but I've been persuasive in getting to meet people. I've talked to Michael Gaughan, and I've talked to Ryan Groundley, who's the GM at South Point. And so they're open to us. I give them the benefits of why they want to connect with us, because we are collectors. We do look at the things that they have that we want. And it's opened up a lot of doors for me, but it is very important. You can't ignore that. We are a Casino Collectibles Association. And so they're the guys that are supplying us. And a lot of them are pretty open to what we do. And I think it should be, when I lived in Las Vegas, it was easy. I could go, but I'm about 3 hours away, and I still end up going twice a month to Las Vegas, and I still talk to people. Matter of fact, I have an appointment coming up with Ryan Groundley from South Point in about 2 weeks. So,
Okay.
all right.
And same question to Mark about devoting resources to the casino industry.
I think it's a good
Tracking the casino.
idea. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. The thing is that everything's being currently concentrated in Nevada. You have the whole 50 states where every jurisdiction now almost has gaming. I think they're looking even in Texas right now to do land-based gaming. We have resources out there. There's a connection or a network out there throughout the whole United States. It doesn't only have to be Nevada. It can be, there are other areas and places we can tap into and possibly get into it. The Hollywood Coin Club and that stuff was holding their meetings and their coin show at the Mardi Gras Casino on the 3rd floor. They gave them the room for nothing. Things were a little tight in there. They had to move out, but the casinos are open to some of this stuff and the rest, and open to what we're doing if we approach them right. And yes, there are other areas where we can hit them in the casino areas even before they get into the casino related field. And I'll bring that up probably later on one of the questions.
Yeah, more questions on that for sure. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that means that we've gone through the first 3 questions in the general category. Next category, which has like 7 or 8 questions, probably the biggest topic that everyone wants to ask about, deals with membership. So I'm going to throw this one to Mark first. And the first question is, what is your plan to appeal to younger collectors?
That is a very difficult situation in our field. In numismatics or coins and that stuff, you can get a child interested in coins. And usually what happens is that once they get to college, that's when they drop the hobby and come back when they're 35 years of age. Everybody's seen this and the rest. No kid can go into a casino and collect the chips themselves. They have to have a parent or whatever. And we are currently looking at advice. It would be like teaching, I said this to somebody the other day, it's like trying to teach beer making to a kid when their parents are anti, liquor. So the thing is that the idea is we should concentrate on the college students who are coming out. And this was the area which I think where we could make the greatest thing. There are currently 9 universities, I think it is, I was doing a little research, which have gaming programs. And we should be hitting those people who are coming out of those gaming programs and the rest and saying, hey, there's a hobby out here. We're here and doing this. As you come out into the field, either as a hostess in the gaming area and that stuff, there are people collecting. You should network with us and you should start doing that. And that's how you get these people to come into the and possibly learn about the hobby and bringing more people in as they're in the college area.
Very well taken. Jerry, same question. Attracting younger members.
The best way to attract younger members is to have younger members talk about it. Now, David Soul, Trey Warren are some of our most visible younger members, and they have a good way of telling people what's what with the club and to promote the club. And those are we need to contact those people, the ones that we want, the area that we want to attract, the group that we want to attract, those are the ones that need to go out and get them. If I go up and say, hey, you know, to a young person, you need to join, he's going to look at me and categorize me as, well, you're an old guy, I don't need to join an old man's club. So if you get the younger people to do that and participate and be out in front, you have a better shot of convincing someone. And there's a lot of, you know, the target group that I think we should go after is a 30 to 35 group, where they starting to get a little extra money and they have, you know, discretionary income to do the things that we do. But you have to have younger members promote the club. There's ways of trying to get younger people into the club, where you can offer contests, you can offer incentives to do things. But again, it all comes back to just what is it we have to offer, except, you know, here's a collecting. We have to engage, and the type of people that will engage are the younger ones that have to engage.
I mean, geez, to be honest, the 30, 35-year-olds are kids compared to the rest of our members.
Well,
I mean,
of course.
geez, the 70, 75-year-olds are probably younger.
Right. But, you know, but we have a responsibility to try to get that group. And it's not easy, but it can be done if we work at it hard enough.
Okay, second question dealing with membership, and we're going to throw this one to Jerry first. Do you have plans for retaining members? And if so, what are they?
Okay, the one thing that you'll notice that will be coming out in the newsletter is I presented it to Roy Nelson, our membership director, is again enhancing that ambassador program, because I think that's the best way to retain people right now. And it could be broad-based across the whole spectrum of our membership, of new members. And it would be a benefit to get them to know. When I signed up those 44, let me get back to that, at Silverton, I gave them incentives, but they still had to be a spark in them that, hey, I'm interested. So there was the spark. We just let that spark die. We didn't act on it. And with the ambassadors, that would be the biggest thing we could do. You've got to look at what, and you know, getting our name out there is big. I just appointed Brad Smith as our public relations manager, and he's putting out a press release now for the Moog, which, you know, highlights what we're doing. And that will get people interested. And so once they see that, hey, the club is more about what we're about, we should be able to get more people in. But it takes a constant effort. And it's not a one-man thing, like I mentioned earlier. Everybody's got to do this. I mean, I can lead the way, or I can even help you. If somebody wants to do something, offer, you know, a program or a show or something to membership drive, I will help them. I might even show up if it's not, my schedule permits. And I think that's important, that we have to get involved. That the leaders of the club have to, not just Roy and not just me, but everybody.
Okay. And Mark, what are your plans for retaining memberships?
Benefits. We have to build up the benefits which the members get. The more benefits we have, the stronger we will get. Exactly what they are, like I said, our journal is our major benefit. If we are, you know, what is it? If we, right now, I went on the website not too long ago, I can download all the 128 volumes of the journal and that stuff. I don't have to pay for it. I can go on the chip guide and do searching for chips and that stuff. I can post a question and get information internally. We need to bring them into the club and have the club be the source of the information. That if you're a member, you get all of these benefits. If you're on the outside, you're going to have to find out elsewhere. Also, the thing is that Coneca, ANA, and a lot of other clubs have these outreach programs and the rest. You have people in there who will work like a devil and attend coin shows and the rest and promote the club, and others will just take titles and the rest and say, oh yeah, I'm the representative from Florida, and never go to a show or whatever. So yes, they work in some instances. There are people in there who work. You just have to manage it and make sure that it works correctly. I'm not discounting and saying it's not a good idea. I'm just saying that it just has to be managed correctly.
Okay, thank you. And keep in mind, some of these questions kind of are going to hit on the same topics, questioned a little bit different way, but I'm going to go through here because they were submitted in this form. So I'm going to throw this one first to Mark. And the questions reads, do you see opportunities to improve CCA's value proposition towards non-members in order to make it more compelling to join? And what can we offer to non-membershippers to bring them into the club?
Well, like I said, if we could take something like the chip guide, move that internally and make it a members only area, where they could post, you know, buy, sell, trade within the community and the rest, this would be a member incentive. ANA is looking at that and the rest. They are setting up virtual trade sessions and the rest, virtual Boris areas within their own website and the rest. So dealers can go dealer to dealer or dealer to member and be able to buy and sell in a safe community. There are restrictions and the rest because you have to make sure that you're not violating rules and that they adhere to the situation. So the thing is that you have to get them to want something within the club. That's what you need to, that's the incentive to get them to join. If they sit on the outside and that stuff and they get it for nothing, you know, if I post on the thing, what's the value of this chip? Somebody picks up their current version of the chip guide. It says, oh, it's a p-value chip. They didn't have to even buy the book.
Right.
The thing is that these are things, it's, and I'm not saying it's not being helpful in doing this, but it doesn't bring them into the club. They're sitting on that side outside. Another thing is that they don't even if you're a member of this organization, you don't even get get into the convention free. You have to pay. So what's the incentive of being a member? They can attend all of the seminars. They can attend everything except the poker tournament, the blackjack tournament, and the trade session and the banquet. So
Okay, good answer. And same thing with Jerry. What do you feel we could do to make it more compelling for non-members to join?
Well, I think the main thing, one of the main things, is that the social aspect. We all have a common thread. We all have a common interest. And I think when I joined, that's the main reason I joined. I have collections and I do that, but I really wanted to talk to people that did like the same things that I liked, because I could get knowledge, I could learn what's going on, and also the ethical question where we have a code of ethics, so that if we deal with another person, that we know that we're not going to cheat them, and if they do, they would be out of the club. So you have kind of a guarantee, and I think that's important for some people, because not everybody is crazy about collecting this item or that item, and some of them just want to be a casual collector, like I consider myself sometimes. So it benefits us to try to do a broad spectrum of value. Socializing is one, showing some kind of a guarantee or cheat anybody, and to see what we're all about. I mean, I think there's that kind of takes it all into one big package, and I think that's a very appealing to me, and I think it would be appealing to new people as well.
Okay,
So.
thank you very much. Okay, that brings us to the third question, membership, which I'm going to let Jerry answer first. This says, with the decline in membership over the years, how do you anticipate relating to the membership in terms of assessing what the members want and expect? And do you see that the deliverables that we the current mix of deliverables, will remain the same, or do you foresee some changes? Meaning, deliverables like in the hard copy of the magazine, the Vegas convention, the website. So in a nutshell, even though this is like 2 paragraphs long, with the decline in membership, what do you see as changes in the benefits that we offer the club through things like the magazine, the convention?
The magazine is a big part of our club. Everybody likes it. It's an award-winning publication, and the 2 editors do an excellent job in presenting stories and ideas of what's going on, and it's informative. The newsletter is just as good. It's more of a timely issue where we make announcements. We don't do ads or anything like that. But you have to understand that when we look at how the membership looks at us and what we offer, we have to give them something more. And how we determine that is based on what we get from opinions, and we get suggestions from our members. Now we have a suggestion box on the newsletter, which Chuck Sikora is taking over, and you know, we have an avenue for people to tell us what they want, what they need. We can send out surveys, you know, but unfortunately we don't get much of a response. I don't think we would get much of a response, because people just they don't really want to get too involved. They just want a certain part of the club. They want to know that they got a friend here, they've got a chip here, they collect here, they want to buy this. So we're kind of scattered, and trying to determine one thing that would bring it all in is not easy. And so we need communication back from the members. That's why with the ambassador program, where we find out what the new members want, they tell us, hey, I'm interested in this, then we can kind of get an idea where we need to focus. Not the single focus, but to at least get some of these ideas addressed and some of these concepts that we could take. That's all I got.
Okay. And Mark, same question. Seeing a decline in membership, do you see any changes in benefits or deliverables?
TAMS has an excellent policy, which I would like to see enacted. We go through a dues renewal period and that stuff, and the rest. TAMS is a little bit different, that their dues renewal is everybody's due on the same thing, January 1st of the year. We send out the dues renewal, then we do a follow-up, and then there's a third follow-up, which is a letter from the president, which goes to everybody who doesn't renew, asking them why they did not renew. What did we fail? And we get a lot of responses back from these people that, oh, I wanted more stuff pertaining to awards and decorations, like in the military. There's another organization which covers that. We don't have a lot of that. So the thing is that you get feedback from those people who are not coming in and state, all right, if we improve this, would you come back? And a lot of them have. So the thing is that you have to find out the specific reasons. Why did we fail in them not renewing? And the thing is that you do this outreach and the rest, and getting them in the first time is easy. You say to them, oh, there's a club, and that's that they join, and then they find that they don't have anything. It's not in their specific area, or the dealers aren't specifically targeting their area. They can get it elsewhere.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so that brings us, well, actually, I thought I had more membership questions, but I actually didn't see the break here. Brings us to the end of the membership section, and the next one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 questions dealing with participation in the club. So we're going to let Mark answer this one first. It says, the chip guide is a very valuable resource for the hobby. It's a community effort where hundreds of chip members have contributed images of items to their collections to build the catalog. Do you support the chip guide, and what contributions have you made to support it in the past?
I very much support it. I would like to make it a members only perk of the club. I had supported it in the past and that stuff, and submitted in the rest. There's a reason why I scaled back and stopped doing it, but I'm not going to bring that up at this time. It's not important at this point.
Okay, Jerry, same question. I lost it here. Do you support the chip guide, and what contributions have you made to support it in the past?
The chip guide is our greatest asset, and so it needs to be protected. It needs to be dealt with on a much better scale, in the sense that Mark's right. We need to limit that, I think, in a certain degree, with who can view it and who can't. There was thoughts about where we would have a certain portal or way of getting into the chip guide, where they would have to pay for it, or they would have to be a member of the club. That needs to be also investigated, whether we can do that or not. When you look at the chip guide, it's amazing what Charles has done with it. It's a great endeavor, and it does need as far as my participation, I don't have that much participation in it, I'll be honest with you, because it's more involved than I can get at this time. I do know a lot about some of the inner workings. We've had some issues now, but I think it needs to be protected very well. We also need to make sure that we do not expose ourselves to any kind of issues, and that we are doing everything 100%. And I am working on that right now. So it's very important that we protect it. I do agree with that. So.
Okay, thank you very much. I was going to make one comment on the chip guide, my own personal opinion, throwing something in there, because I agree with what both you guys are saying. it's kind of a fine line when you have a resource like the chip guide. Uh, while on one side, I would love to see it a members only thing, because that adds huge benefit to the club. On the other side, it's a draw to non-members to show them out there, because it brings people in there and exposes the hobby to non-members in there. So it's that fine line that where exactly do you draw it, and what benefits us the most. That's just a discussion that's been going back and forth for years. So I can see arguments on both sides.
It's probably going to continue to go on for years
I
until.
agree. I agree.
Okay, let me see. I threw this one to start at Mark. So this one's going to be a Jerry first. Have you written any articles for the club magazine, published any guides, or otherwise contributed to the research of the hobby?
I do the Members Corner article. I think I've been doing it now for 4 years since I became president. Probably, I did it before when you were president. I started it and I do it every month, or every issue. I try to highlight a member that's not necessarily well known, but someone that does a lot of work on the side or behind the scenes. And I've had a lot of fun with it, and I think a lot of the members like it. Unfortunately, some of the members that I've done or I've asked to do it, they refused because they didn't want the publicity, but most of them agree. I will point out that not this issue coming out of the magazine, but the next one will be a tribute to Steve Palumbo. I had done in the Members Corner on him about 2 years ago. And so I'm going to have a reprint because it's very timely on everything that he did. And I feel compelled that he should be honored in some way, and his family.
Thank you. And Mark, have you written any articles for the club magazine, published any guides, or otherwise contributed to the research of the hobby?
I've written 3 versions of the Florida Guide. I'm updating it currently. I keep getting sidelined with other projects, including running for president. But I've been trying to work on the update, and it will be very comprehensive this time around. I worked on the H.C. Edward guide with Gene Trimble. I published all of those records, which are now, that entire book is free on David Sprague's website and the rest, and you can get all of that information there. I currently have an article coming out in the new issue and that stuff about a chip which popped up in Florida. I've written at least 3, maybe 4 articles throughout the years for this organization, but I've also written these articles and that stuff for other numismatic organizations pertaining to chips to get them interested, and always state, come over and look at the guide, look at the organization, look at the CCA.
Thank you very much. And on the subject of writing articles and things like that, I'd like to give a personal thanks. I'm looking at both Steve Miller and Rob McPherson, both have joined us. Thank you guys for all you guys have done. And heck, Alan Anderson's on here too. So we have 3 editors and former editors that I see, and I mean, that, in my opinion, is the #1 resource we have at the club, and can't thank you guys enough. Okay, next question is going to be a Mark question first. What casino chips or collectibles do you collect, and how much do you engage with other club members and collectors in acquiring items for your collection? And then on the follow-up to that, do you enjoy chipping as a fun hobby, and what makes it fun for you?
Well, as you may know, I have what's known as the Florida Reference Collection and that stuff. It's all the chips in Florida. I just grew out of the fact that nobody was ever looking at Florida at the time or cataloging and the rest. And I went back with the Bob Ginsberg, the Florida Bob Ginsberg, and we started hitting all of the boats, all the casinos and the rest, and trying to get this and build it up. I do engage. If somebody asks a question and the rest, I answer them whatever I can when it comes to Florida. That's my area specialty, and the rest. I enjoy it. I have fun with it. When I go into a casino, I will try to engage the people in Florida and that stuff and say, hey, we're collectors. You know, there are people out here and the rest which collect this. You know, sometimes you get frowns, other times you get, but yeah, I'm always there to promote Florida. I'm always there to promote, you know, because that's my specialty. I do collect Monte Carlo. I've scaled back with that over years, but I do have a massive Nevada collection. I have other areas also. So yes, I'm in this. I've been in it for years.
Okay. Very same question. What chips or collectibles do you collect? And do you enjoy chipping as a fun hobby? And what makes it fun for you?
Well, I joined the club because I wanted fun. I wanted to have fun, and I think Steve Pasalacqua used to hit that one on the head.
Well, we ruined that for you, didn't we?
No, you're fine. We're fine. But I do collect. I have over 8,000 chips in my collection. I collect mostly limited edition. I collect snappers, which are the 250, and I also collect baseball chips because one of my sons likes baseball, so I have pretty much every chip that ever had a baseball theme on it. And I had an exhibit for that, I think 3 years ago at the convention. I won second place. And I also, now I'm starting to collect football chips because my other son likes football. So I figured if I collected something they'd like, they might want to keep it after I'm done. But I also have slot machines. I have 4 right now. I had 8. And I also have a big wheel. What do you call that? A Wheel of Fortune. I have that. I collect $2 bills. So that's, and then let's see what else I have. And I have matches, I have dice, and I also have my liquor collection, which you've been the beneficiary of. You joined. So what I will do, and I was going to post it tomorrow on the club board, is just maybe start an interest of everybody showing their collections, and I'll have about 15 pictures that shows you what I have. My own chips. I have a blackjack table with my logo on it, which I'm thinking of donating to the club as a fundraiser. They could. It's got my logo is Fred Flintstone holding a stack of chips, and it says Jerry's Man Cave and Casino. And I also have a coin cart that came out of Florida. I don't remember what casino, and I put my logo on that. So I'm pretty active in that. I do talk to members of what I'm interested in. My collecting duties have gone down a little bit because of the administrative work I do for the club and what I get involved in, plus some personal time I need. But I still manage to collect what I like, and I think it's important to have fun with that. So.
Okay, thank you. And the third question that we have, actually, the fourth question we have under participation in the club, and this one's going to go to Jerry first. Kind of touches on something we've talked about in the past, but what activities have you participated in that promote, organize, grow, or benefit the CCA?
I'm going to show you my badge from last convention. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Okay. Obviously, I'm an officer. I'm a life member. I'm on the board of directors of the Moog. I'm a committee. I did the poker tournaments and blackjack tournaments. I exhibit. I'm a volunteer. I'm a newsletter coordinator and a contributor to the magazine and a local chapter. I think that pretty much says it all. I'm involved in a lot of the facets of the club because I believe it's important that you be and participate. How can you lead this club if you don't know what's going on? I mean, to stay in one position and say, okay, you're going to do this and this without knowing the intricacies and the ins and outs, you'll never be effective, and you won't be a leader. I think that's pretty much sums it up. If you want me to show it again, or can you see it?
Thanks.
It almost looks like a tie when I walk, through the convention. And I wasn't planning on having all that this year. I was just going to cut it down to 1 or 2, but because it's kind of bothersome. But either way, it shows that I do care about what we're doing, and I'm involved.
Okay, same question for Mark. What activities have you participated in that promote, organize, grow, or benefit the CCA?
Besides attending the convention since the second convention, I've tried to, attend most of the lectures when I can. I've given talks at the CCA. Jim Cruz asked me to do it. I talked I think it was 3 years ago. But I'm also engaged outside. When we hold a table at a show, we used to hold, the Florida Club used to have a table at the show. We always had information about the National Club. Whenever we have a table like TAMS or whatever at the major conventions and the rest, I always bring literature. I always carry literature with me. And when there are people who, promote the hobby, are interested in it, we give it to them. There's also, we try to promote through the ANA, the exhibit area, which has a class specifically for casino related items, chips, tokens, and the rest. I'm a certified judge in that area, as is Archie. I think we're the only two which are certified in that area currently, which specifically goes to that. And the thing is anytime somebody enters into that area, we try to get them into it. Unfortunately, Jerry has been the majority of the exhibitors for the last few years, but we have had others. So yes, I'm out there in the numismatic world promoting the CCA.
Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us on to our next topic. Looks like we have 2, 3, 4, about 5 or 6 questions there, and that deals with the convention. So first question for Mark on the convention. Says every year the number of dealers at our convention goes down. What would you do to get more dealers to set up?
That that is a problem because you need people who are specific to the casino collectibles. I think one of the questions which is going to come down the line and that stuff is to invite other um, clubs which are associated with this, members like matchbook collectors and the rest. I know that attending a lot of postcard shows in the state of Florida, that when they come to Florida, they only bring Florida postcards. They do bring other areas, but they specifically come in. Paul Cunningham, who was a dealer who set up most of the time at our show and the rest, used to bring, when he comes to Florida, he only brings a majority of Florida tokens or the area, because that's specific to it. If we are looking at people and the rest, and we want to expand and bring in matchbook collectors, we want to bring in swizzle stick collectors or anything else, we need to invite people and advertise and say, hey, do you want to come to our club and sell your wares and the rest in those areas? So that's one of the ways, expand outside of the specific chip area and the people who we know, and start bringing in people who have those items who can specifically sell at our convention.
Thank you. Jerry, same question. What would you do to get more dealers set up at the shows?
Okay, to get more dealers, you need more customers or more people to come to the convention. That's a key, because if we can, one of the questions somebody dealer's going to say is, well, why do I want to come? Well, you can make money, you can show your stuff and make some sales. Well, how are you going to do that if you don't have anybody show up? Last year, Rich Burgell was the publicity director the year before, and he increased the attendance at the convention because he got radio ads. He had a sign twirler out front. He did a lot of local advertising and not national ones where we were sending ads in New England news journals or whatever. But he honed in on the local trade and the local base. So to get to get dealers to come in, you've got to show them that it's worth the effort. Having a convention where you just have one type of collectibles, that's fine. Last year, the year before, we invited Steve Palumbo and we talked about it, where we had a couple outside vendors, one that was selling jewelry cleaner, I believe, and the other one was doing some kind of a spa membership. I'm not 100% on that, but we had 2 vendors, and they paid maximum money to come in, and they actually made some money out of it. So inviting the A&A members, we're going to invite Silver Strikers to come in and have a table. Different clubs is important, but also different like businesses. We contacted the Las Vegas Convention Bureau, and they put our convention on their website, and so we did have some response to that, and that's a key, because there's a lot of these dealers and things. They do travel, they have road shows, and they go around, and some of them we can't do, but some of them we can do, and it helps bring in more types of people. And then the advertising is obviously the thing that brings in everybody. But the dealers pay money, and we try not to kill them with the rates and increases like that. But the more we have, the cheaper it becomes, and it becomes more acceptable for them to join and to get into the convention. But it comes down to basically just, I think the key is advertising. And we had a budget set up for that, which was we stayed right on it. And hopefully this year we might have to do a little bit more, but we haven't decided yet. The board hasn't decided how we're going to budget that out. But I think it was great. We increased it. I think the last 10 years before that, we were spiraling down in attendance. And last year we increased it. So it's a good sign. And hopefully the dealers understand that. Okay.
Thank you. Something I forgot to mention, by the way, if either of you guys remember something after you already spoke about this same topic, feel free to speak up and say, I'd like to talk more about that or whatever. We can, it's
Okay.
not that you only have one shot at it. So,
All right.
so we've officially finished our first page. And we're on to page number 2 out of a little over 2. Okay. Next question on convention. Because the fact that we have a much smaller club in the future, do you believe that means a much smaller convention? And what would you do to prepare for that reality? And that was, see, I think that was Jerry first this time.
Okay. I'd like to real quick read a notice that I got. I sent an email to Mo Robinson, who's our contact at South Point. And I'd like to read I had asked the question about what the protocols and what was going to happen. And she had informed me that on the 15th or the 14th, she would let me know what the governor of governor of Nevada was going to give us. And I'm going to read this and I quote, protocols haven't changed. Masks will still be mandatory. Social distancing in effect. Cleaning and sanitizing a must. The governor went from 25% to 35%, which doesn't help meetings at this time. However, March 15th, we go to 250 or 50%, and that may help your group. I think by June, you will be able to have your convention as you always have, but with protocols. You will still have to have masks, still have to have social distancing, but you can have more people. There is a discussion about meeting attendees having to have been vaccinated, but I don't see that as coming to fruition. So the convention, if we do have it, aside from that, the tables would probably have to be 6 feet apart, not in line like we normally do. And since there's no more space available for us, there's a chance that we might have to cut the dealers down. And so there's an indication here now of how that's going to work. We don't know. We are going to be sending out tonight. Actually, I'm going to be sending out a questionnaire to the dealers on whether they want to participate in this year's convention. Because we need to have them behind us if we're going to do anything. If they don't want to, if they're not willing to come, I don't know what we can do. And then consequently, we will also have in the newsletter for the general membership, a link that will ask them if they are going to attend, if any of the members, and we'll be able to get an idea from them how many are willing to come. Because if we have a convention and nobody shows up, what good is it? I mean, we spend a lot of money on these conventions. And up until I think a couple of years ago, we were actually losing money, but now we're starting to make money because of one of the things you do, which is the raffle, and then David does the auction. Those are the two top money makers. It's going to be hard to, this is a hard situation for us to decide. And what we do today might not be relevant in June. But we do want to try to think, the best possible scenarios here, and hope for the best.
Okay, thank you. And same question to Mark, because we might be a much smaller club in the future, do you believe that means a much smaller convention, and what would you do to prepare for that?
I hope to expand the convention. When you look at even the speakers we've been getting, even at our banquet and that stuff, that should be a draw in itself. The idea of shrinking and that stuff, a lot of, what is it? The reason you're losing and having a smaller convention is because of the fact is a lot more is going online. And the thing is that we could look, ANA is currently looking at that right now, of having a virtual Boris area and the rest for some of the shows. They are trying to figure this out, and the rest, I lost my link and that stuff. The Miami International Map Fair this year, for the first time in 33 years, went virtual Boris for maps. And the thing is that I would have liked to have seen what it is. We might be able to increase and work through our situation where we have a virtual Boris as a part of the convention, or being our convention if everything moves online. You just have to move with the flow and see where everything is. You know, yes, our auction is a draw, our, you know, the convention and the rest, you know, speakers and the rest. What we offer them at the convention will draw more people, and what we bring in and that stuff, and that will bring more dealers. It has to be worthwhile, because the thing is that if you only concentrate on dealers who are in Nevada or California, you're going to end up with only them. You got dealers, you know, like Jerry Burrell, myself, Joel Resnick, and the rest, who drive cross country to bring our stuff out there. It has to be worthwhile. I don't make money at the convention, but it has to be worthwhile for us to do it, and we do it to support the club, not just to be out there to sell. You know, it helps the club.
Okay, next question, we're gonna start with Mark, and this is what you had kind of allured to earlier. It says, if you were elected president, would you be willing to seek, study, and possibly join a few other closely related to our hobby collector groups or clubs? Groups such as whom collect playing cards, dice, coin operating machines, etc. And would you consider the club joining a few of those other larger numismatic clubs and associations similar to how we are currently members of the ANA? And that also includes, would you be willing to invite those members to join our club, convention, and other organized events where they can hold an exhibit or table?
Okay. It's a multifaceted answer because there are different areas. Number one, this is the only club that I know of which doesn't even allow our own club, other clubs like Atlantic City, the Florida, Southern Nevada, to be a member of the national club. There is no spot for that. Yeah, there's a corporate membership, but those clubs don't even to join. So if you want to try to entice a lot of these people out there to be members, you have to have a spot for them to join. Second of all, you don't join up unless, I mean, join down unless there's a reason to. Fun is a member of the ANA. ANA is not a member of Fun because there's no reason for them to do it. There are reciprocal agreements between the organizations. We can offer the, let's say the matchbook collectors or the postcard collectors and that stuff, and say, you would like a free table at our place, give us a free table at yours. We can get reciprocal ads between these organizations. We don't have to be a member, but it may be worthwhile to join these clubs to be a member. Being a member of the ANA and the rest, the one benefit about the ANA is at every convention, their spring convention and their summer convention, they have a club area. If you want to buy a table at its show, it's $700 to $1,000 for a table in the back of the room. In the club area, it is free to any club who's a member. So for $35 or $40 to be a member of that organization, you can attend that show twice a year and set up and promote the club. So, and Fun is the same way. They have a whole area, you know, for clubs, and a lot of them, Central States, all of these organizations have free tables for members. So if it's worth it for us to be a member, then I support it. If there's reciprocal stuff we can do where we can help each other, I think that it will also benefit us in both ways without having to join.
Okay. And Jerry, same question. Do you remember? Or you want me to read it again?
Go ahead, read it to me again. I just want to see your work, that's all.
This is probably the longest question I had here. If you were elected president, would you be willing to seek, study, and possibly join a few other closely related to our hobby collector clubs or groups such as whom collect playing cards, dice, coin operating machines? Would you consider the club joining a few of the other larger numismatic clubs and associations similar to how we are current members of the ANA? And would you be willing to invite those club members to join with our club, convention, or other organized events where they can exhibit and hold it? That is one long run-on sentence.
Well, I'll start on it, but I don't know if I'll get to all of that. But first of all, I find that interesting that you would ask me that, because I'm president of the Southern Nevada Casino Collectible Club. I'm president of the Silver Strikers Club. I'm a member of the Slot Club Card Club. And what I've found, and the reason I've joined those clubs, and I'm also in the ANA, by the way, the reason I've joined those clubs is because there's a common thread. It's a collecting club, and people, if you join these clubs and they know that, hey, he's the president of this, he's the president, it gives you a connection. And maybe, you know, I've never pressed hardly anybody to join our club and then to join their club. I just present myself as, here's what I do. And if there's a conversation and it takes place. When I was at the Casino Rama show 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I signed up 23 Silver Strikers and I signed up 9 CCA members. And you'll say, well, wait, that's kind of lopsided. Well, everybody that attended the Casino Rama show was already a member of the CCA, but I talked them into, you know, because they all have Silver Strikes. So there's a common thread here. And you have to, if you join these clubs, then you promote that, your club in a way. The SNCCC, which has over 200 members, you know, probably better than half of them are CCA members. We offer a connection to the national club, which we can't formally do, but we get together, we have a social, we have dealers there, we have speakers. So we offer something in the interim between the conventions, because if you don't do that, then, you know, we die. We don't have any exposure. And it's very important to me that way, being in charge of those things. You can't not be involved in like hobbies, especially when there's so much, you know, members that are, so many of them are intertwined with this. And it's helped. I've made a lot of members join. I've had a lot of members join because of me and what I've done. And I always present a positive attitude. I present a very, you know, openness to anything they want to collect. And I think it works better. I mean, I've been criticized for showing a lack of or having a conflict of interest. There is no conflict of interest. The interest is to make the hobby better. Now, maybe the Silver Strikers, their membership is dwindling. Maybe this club is dwindling. Well, if they see an outlet where they can join another club that has the like interest, maybe that we can get them in there. The Silver Strikers has what, approximately 400 members. Okay, 171 of them are CCA members. Okay, I mean, they're the best ambassadors to the club. If they don't want to join the Silver Strikers that aren't members, they don't want to join, that's fine. But they know there's an access and there's a connection. And I think that's important. It's to me, it's second nature to do it. And I don't favor any one group at all. If I was to say I did favor anybody, it'd be the CCA, because that's where my heart is, you know, originally. So if that answer your question?
Mark, you have something else to say?
I do have one follow-up, and the rest, you know, if we do go out and reach out to some of these other organizations like the Matchbook and the rest, we also have to have dealers who have that specific stuff for them. If they come to the convention and they don't see Matchbooks and the rest, or they only have 2 or 3 of them and the rest, they're going to come in and say, this isn't for me, and leave. So the thing is that we have to also engage the dealers and say, hey, if we outreach to this organization and that stuff, if they come to you and say, hey, we're interested in Matchbooks about casinos, you know, will you specifically pull out of your inventory and that stuff and let them know? Or are you going to blow them off and say, well, I only deal in chips. That's a sideline with me.
Right.
So we do have to make sure that the dealers are on board with these other groups. So.
Well, I agree.
Can I
On a
say
side,
something?
yeah, go ahead.
I totally agree with that. And you know, the ANA, Mark, I mean, you're the best one to try to promote some of that, where you could get some of the dealers. I know there's been some discussion that we didn't want too many of them, but I think we're at the point where we need them, because they are. And I think a lot of our members were dealers, ANA members and dealers. So it's a natural, and they could put some of their items out and promote, you know, what we're trying to do here. And also the one thing that I forgot to mention was with the slot club card, they were having a hard time having a meeting place. Now, Dave Johnson, who's the president, was having a hard time. So I offered them one of our meeting rooms, which we have. We have at least 10 rooms there, or 4 rooms, and we could use them any time of the day. And we offered them so they could have a trading session or whatever. Having these local member clubs get involved in the convention just makes them want to come to our area and see what we're all about. But anyway, the ANA thing, no, Mark, I would love for you to get involved in that part of it. If you could get some of your members to be willing to come to our convention. I mean, I'm sure we could come up with something, you know, that would be workable. I think it's a great idea.
Well, on a side note, you know, for years, we had the convention. It was strictly you had to just exhibit only casino memorabilia. That was the rule. I remember we wouldn't even allow people in. They wanted to run out some other people. But I think about 5 or 6 years ago, the board, when I was part of the board, made a decision that we will open up the convention to other related groups. So I personally contacted the playing card clubs, the local coin clubs, numerous different organizations, Swizzle Stick guys. We tried our best, thinking that, I mean, thought was we'd be able to open up a whole new section of the convention for all these other collectibles, and we'd add 30, 40 new tables. Did not work out like that. I mean, we got very little response. I think most of the problem was the fees that we charge for our tables compared to some of these smaller coin shows that are used to paying $30, $40 for a table. They just weren't at the same level. Of course, those shows were nothing like our show, where we have the seminars and the banquets and every, a big 3-day event. But it was hard to get them to do that. Now, we did not try the free table thing. I know exactly what you're talking about, Mark. I took advantage of that at several of the ANA conventions where the club had a free table. They gave us a free table. It wasn't the back, it was a section that was away from most of the group, but at least they gave member clubs free tables to solicit members to their own club. Something that could be something to consider for ourselves.
You can't give up. What happened, what you tried to do 3, 4, 5 years ago, doesn't mean we have to keep denying it. We should keep trying. And plus, I'm a better negotiator than you are, Doug. I'm sorry.
That could be.
I can be persuasive.
Okay, so next question on here, which I think is going to go to Jerry first. If you were elected president, would you be in favor of not having an entry fee for walk-in visitors at the convention and show area, along with perhaps inviting some guests to some of our convention functions, and why? So basically, would you be open to having free admission for walk-in visitors?
We do that on Saturday, and we have free admission to everyone. When we have guests, especially when the OTY awards and those things, we do allow them to come in. And I have had people, VIPs, come in from news agencies, and I've had them from other casinos to see what we're all about. So we do offer that service. As far as the general admission, I don't have a problem with where we give out maybe a pass or two to every dealer, or maybe some members, and so that they could give them to people that they want to come in. I think the more we get in the room, the better off we are. We might lose money at the admission gate, but the dealers would certainly benefit from that, because people would want to come in and see what we're all about. When I was dealing with Mo and her group upstairs, the catering company, or part of the club, South Point, two of the receptionists said they had these items that they'd collected. One was a vase, and the other one was some kind of a commemorative dice or something. And she said, "What do you think these are worth?" I said, "Well, come on down and go to their dealers." And I gave them a couple of names of some dealers, and they'll tell you. And they came down, and they were excited. They actually sold the items to the dealers, and they stuck around for about an hour and a half. So, I mean, the more people we can get in that room, sure. We want to try to make some money out of this because it's our biggest event. But I think by getting more people into the room, we might even get a better chance of getting them to sign up as members, or at least come back. And it's worth the time and effort and the money. I mean, I don't know exactly the numbers of what we had last time as far as who came in free, but I know that when they did come in free, they were excited, and it was a good event for us. So.
Okay.
Okay.
And thank you. And Mark, same question. Would you be in favor of having no entry fee for walk-in visitors at our convention?
I don't know if I would go with free. There are a couple of things in the rest. I'm going to bring in Central States. Central States, like the CCA, were charging their members and non-members to come into their show. Now, their show is a little bit larger. They have about 350 tables at their show. They also found that it was the diehard collectors who were coming to the show and paying that admission. They have since changed this year and allowing the membership to come in for nothing. I looked at our figures and that stuff. We have about 1,000 dealers, right? I mean, 1,000 members in this organization, about 70 dealers. If you increase the cost of the table fee by $10, and I'm sure not one of these dealers would complain about that, and the rest, that would cover all 1,000 dealers from coming in. I think it's about $15 and that stuff, but you're not going to get all 1,000 members into the show floor. VIPs, other people out there and the rest, you always invite them in. The A&A brings in the press, they bring in news crews and the rest to show them what's out there and the rest. They always get on the floor free. They don't have to pay for it. The thing is that the outside, person who's walking down the street or wants to do something and the rest and what's seeing and that stuff, I would in ads and the rest to see where your advertising dollars are going, discounted. Say if you come on, with this coupon and that stuff, you get $2 off. So and you can record where your advertising dollars are going. That's how you draw them in and see where or not and the rest. You don't have to give it to them free, but you discount it if they bring something in so we can track.
Thank you very much. Okay, this one, the last question in the convention topic is also going to go to Mark first. A little bit long, so I'm going to read it and then we'll summarize it. What is your viewpoint regarding the importance of the annual convention as it relates to the potential increase of our membership, particularly reaching out to the younger audience? Do you support the concept of increasing exposure to the convention to a wider audience via participation in Vegas gambling related podcasts to help us advertise it as a show, or do you prefer to treat the convention as more of a celebration for the existing membership? So I guess what this is saying in a nutshell, well, tell you what,
on,
I'm gonna
Doug.
let you answer the question.
Chicken.
It depends on what you are thriving for. Okay. The convention was kind of set up for a way of being able to buy, sell, trade, and do whatever. It was also set up originally, to have educational forums to meet our 501c3 corporation. If we want to expand, we can expand. The ANA and the rest, they have a banquet and the rest, and that's all they do at their banquet is give out their awards. They've actually pulled a lot of their awards and moved them to luncheons and special meetings and the rest. So they're promoting their banquet is strictly for for the people who are the people who are donating the money givers, and that's what they're trying to, the philanthropists who are doing it. So they're trying to do this for their organization, and that's where they're turning, and they're finding that that's getting smaller and smaller. We have an excellent convention. Our convention and that stuff can grow if it's done correctly in the rest. Now, the ANA, and I'm going to throw this in right now because this has been a statement. A lot of people, a lot of dealers and people have asked, how come the ANA has never held a show in Las Vegas? And the answer has always been, is that show is too small for Vegas. We're lucky that we have a show where we have in South Point and the rest. And I would like to see it there in the rest, but we may have to look at other venues in the rest, but we could grow if we had the space and the ability to it, if we market it correctly.
Thank you very much. And Jerry?
Well, what we've tried to do is market our convention now as a show, because from the outside viewpoint, a convention seems like it's a closed event, whereas a show is more of an open event. And what we try to do with the advertising and that we did last time with the radio spots is we brought in people to show them that we're more than just a club collecting things. The convention is more than just one thing now. It's a social gathering. People want to show up and talk to the people and see people that they've talked to online for the whole year. They love the concept of Las Vegas. They want to party. They want to go eat. They want to go to the shows. So it's more than just our convention. It's a whole package. To want to expand that, you have to look at what we're trying to accomplish. And with the show, it's got to be about entertainment. We have to entertain people. Now, you were talking about podcasts. We tried to do that at the last convention, but with South Point, the requirements that they had were just outrageous. We were looking at a high number of dollars, probably somewhere around $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to have a spot in the convention was what we were trying to do. Have what do they call it? A on-site spot where they actually have a broadcast right in the convention. So we were looking at something like that to bring people into the area. But to make it say it's a convention, I think we need to get away from that word. We need to say it's a show, because it gives you a whole different thought of what we're doing and what we want to do. The convention, like Mark touched on it, our last year, this year and next year, our last years at South Point. It's already been conveyed to me by Maureen that they just were too small for them. So I've been looking at Orleans. Steve Palumbo and I looked at the Orleans. We also looked at the Rio, and I think the Orleans might be a logical step next door. It will not be exactly like South Point, but it's got close to what we want. But you know, unless things change dramatically, and maybe they might with COVID and they're losing business, we might be able to stay after that, which is, you know, the ideal situation. But at this point, I don't know what's going to happen. So, but anyway, again, to me, when I went to the show, I went to go see people. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to buy some stuff, but I also wanted to go eat. I wanted to go gamble. And so it becomes a whole event. You can't just say one thing, although, you know, you'd like it to be, it's not. And quite honestly, Wednesday, we set up. Thursday is our busy day. And Saturday's busy because, and in between, it's because everybody's out doing something else. So anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you very
right?
much. Would you guys mind terribly if we take like a 5-minute break?
Not at all.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording here for just a minute and give everyone a chance to fill their coffee cups, go to the bathroom, whatever they need, and we're back in about 5 minutes.
Great.
Okay, there we go. We're back back in the meeting. We've got 7, 8 questions left. I think we ought to be able to finish up. It looks like Mark's video hasn't moved in a couple of seconds, so I don't know if Mark's still online or not.
Let's wait.
Okay, let's see. Mark, can you hear us?
Are you losing a lot of hair, Doug? Because you look a little thin up there.
No, I haven't had hair in a long time. I used to have, actually, before I was on the club board, I had all kinds of hair, but oh, now see, he got kicked off. So let's see if he joins us again. Hold on, I'm going to pause this for a minute while we wait till.
Yeah, I'm going to zoom off the mute here.
Okay, so we are back with Mark, and this question is, I believe, last time we had Jerry, so we're going to go Jerry first, and we're in the section of finances. I got 2 questions on financing or finances. First question is, have you examined the club's financial situation and a forecast for next year? Will the club break even? And if not, what expenses are you prepared to cut? And how much of a reserve fund does the club have to cover future loss? Basically, it's in general, what do you think about our financial situation at the moment?
Well, it's not good because we haven't had the convention, we haven't had our fundraisers, and our membership is down. We had last I remember, it was 137 people didn't renew. So we're not doing real well. We look at the financials every quarter. Right now, they're being sent over to the auditor that's going to review our processes, and they're asking a lot of questions, which will hopefully clear up a lot of questions that members have as far as where we stand and making sure that we're accurate in how we report things. We don't forecast, we don't budget, which is probably a good idea to do. The auditor has mentioned that in a questionnaire that they asked if we did have a budget. And so I think it's something that we need to look at, the board will need to look at. But as of now, we do not have anything like that. But we are very cognizant of the numbers, and we look at them, and we're trying to see where we can cut and hopefully save on some of our expenditures. But it's not always easy. And knowing exactly what's going to happen. And with the convention still up in the air this year, we have no idea what we're going to be able to do and what we're going to get in. I know that you've been receiving a lot of contributions for the raffle, but I don't know exactly where we're at with that as well. And the auction, David does the auctions, and I know that some of the things that he puts in, he donates. And so that helps out a lot, but I don't know where we stand with donations right now as far as our contributions to the auction. So
Okay,
That's all.
Mark, you're a little bit of a disadvantage to here because you don't have access to some of the finances like Jerry has, other than what's posted in the magazine. But same question: have you examined the financial situation? What are your thoughts on it?
I've looked at what's available to me from the outside and the rest. Um, I've always learned, the one thing I learned in any non-for-profit organization is that if zero money was coming in, like with this year without the convention, if we had zero income coming into an organization, you could have 3 years worth of reserves set aside outside of those reserves, which are designated for other uses like life membership fund and the rest in the organization to survive. So the thing is that we're well below that. And what I see, we need to build that up. We need to get on a thing, but without doing, this is a term A&A has been using lately, a deep dive into this. I couldn't really tell you without seeing the books.
if you look at, Doug?
Yeah.
Hello, Doug?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, the quarterly reports are put on the club website, I believe. So you can actually take a look at those without having to wait for the magazine to give you anything. And you can see exactly where we're at. There's nothing hidden there. And with our new treasurer, or Bud, our treasurer, he's done an excellent job of keeping everything where it should be and maintaining our books properly.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have the order here.
Oh, there you
What's
go.
that?
I have the
What's that?
last quarter, the one which is posted on the website.
Right.
Okay,
right.
good.
Finances. So I have been looking at them.
Okay, and if there's questions, anybody can always ask questions specifically. It's preferred that you ask us or, by email so that we can, pass it along to Bud if that's needed, or I can answer the question. We want to make sure that everybody does know what's going on.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. This next question is the second question on finances. I'm going to start with Mark on this one. It says, while the CCA is operated as a volunteer and unpaid organization, there are also needs for paid external specialists. These might include things like an external auditor, financial specialists, a lawyer for legal matters, website developer. How would you and or the CCA board manage these external relationships and costs to ensure that the CCA functions professionally?
Well, I can only relate to with that with the ANA and the rest. We have people who are coming in from the outside, consultants. They spent, the thing is that a lot of the stuff which the CCAs have been going through and the rest are been duplicated in other areas. I'll give an example. The ANA spent $100,000 to do a change in logo to that half moon design and the rest because they got brought in specialists from the outside, and the specialist said, oh, to get the younger crowd, you need a different logo. The lamp of knowledge, which has been around since 1891, was outdated. It's for the old fogies. It's not for this group. And the thing is that they went through this, they made all of this change, they changed the stationery, they changed all the signage and the rest, and it failed. So the thing is that you have to look at what you're getting for your money. If you need to spend money on the outside, if somebody internally can't do it in the rest, you got to go to outside. The thing is that sometimes it's better to have somebody from the outside, be this, let's say legal counsel or whatever, if somebody's not willing to step forward. I mean, I know a lot of people in the rest who, in numerous organizations, you just happen to have 5 of them in the ArabCoin group, which deal with website and designs and doing that and the rest, and we're willing to donate our time. But most of the time in that stuff, when the ANA needed questions about computers or wanted myself or my company to do stuff with computers, we turned them down. I said, this is my hobby. This is not my business. I get paid for doing that. I don't come in and do that. So the thing is you have to respect these things and bring what you can to the table and bring expertise to the table and that stuff. Remember, ANA and the rest and other organizations are a great network to get these people and find out, possibly cheaper, possibly, and who know the hobby, who understand the hobby and the rest, instead of trying to teach somebody in a, somebody else. Because when the ANA redid their website and the rest, they spent 2 months training the web designers exactly what we were all about. So you need to have the experts at least be able to communicate this to them and the rest. And yes, sometimes you need to go outside. As to the finances, you need a budget, and you need to say, this is how much we need to budget, or we can budget for this without going overboard. And you look at the budget and work within those limits.
Thank you very much. And Jerry, what's your thoughts on external help and how do we manage that?
Okay, well, my premise has always been to try to find the help that we need within our club. That is not an easy project to do, or not an easy endeavor, because we do have people that are experts in some areas that we have, but they just don't want to step up and help to a certain degree. In a situation like when we transferred the corporate papers from New York to Las Vegas, I had spoken to Christine Smith, and she could not deal with this. And I think Michael Siskin couldn't, I didn't even know that he was an attorney at the time. We'd put a call out if there were any attorneys that would be willing to help. So we ended up having to go out to an outside attorney to help, because I couldn't get involved too much with that, as I'm not an attorney. We were looking for an attorney that would give us a good rate and make it reasonable. The attorneys that we got in Las Vegas specifically wanted $3,500 to $4,000 to do the transfer. I found an attorney, and they had to be also licensed in New York as well as Nevada. I found an attorney that was licensed in both states that would do it for $1,000, as long as I participated in some of the work, which he would monitor, which he would approve, and he would monitor the whole way through. I ended up doing most of the work on the Nevada side, and it ended up costing the club $500, and we got everything that we needed. With the website, we did, I think it's been talked about for 10 years, the things that we wanted to do kept being talked about. I finally decided that, I had to push forward, and we've got an outside company to do it. They're developing it right now. It's still in the process. There are some issues before the board that we have to deal with before we can do anything. But we did get a company, and they're very reasonable. We had a club member that wanted to do it, but the price was just too high. But we found a company that was very cheap and just as good, and very expert in what they do. The thing that with the Moog, when we were doing the business plan, we had to determine exactly who we needed and what we needed direction to go to, how we were going to do things. So we ended up contracting Sandra Harris, who's a museum expert, and she came, and we had a strategy meeting and a business plan. And so we did go outside. We manage them by trying to find the best type of person at the best rate that we can afford, that gives us what we need. It's not always easy, but it's something that I've hopefully mastered by, trying to find out exactly what we can spend and what we should spend, and it's worked out so far.
I can.
Sure.
There's a company which Coneca, TAMS, and quite a lot of other organizations use out there and that stuff, and they're strictly in the policy of corporations and moving corporations from one state to the other, keeping registered agents and the rest out there. Most of us use it and that stuff. Their fees are very reasonable. TAMS is looking at, because of the new regulations in Washington, D.C., because TAMS is actually registered in the District of Columbia, not in any state. They set up new rules in there and that stuff, and it cost us to move the corporation from there to Delaware $300.
Right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
The situation was compounded. It was complicated because the move from New York to Nevada would have been a simple process. But when we went to register the corporation in Nevada, there was a corporation already set up, the CC and GTCC, because of when it was a chapter. The Las Vegas had a chapter. So does New Jersey. And they were never dissolved. They were inactive, but they were never dissolved. So I had to go on the Nevada side and dissolve that corporation, which, by the way, had the officers from the local club in there, because the treasurer, before I became president of the SNCCC, was sending in the information and the fee, but it was under the club, the national club. So I had to dissolve that, wait for that to be dissolved. Then I had to move, then start the new corporation with the correct name, and then form the SNCCC again. And meanwhile, when you're trying to deal with the Nevada Secretary of State, these people don't move quick. And, and then there was, this didn't get done. I think I made 8 trips to Nevada from Arizona at the time just to get things finalized. So while if it's a boilerplate situation where you can just do this, this, and this, that's easy. But this thing became very complicated because of things that weren't done in the past. Go ahead.
Like I brought up in the rest, Conecuh got dissolved some 15 years earlier in the rest. Our treasurer died in office. When they went back in the rest, they had the same similar problems. It cost us $1,500 to reestablish the corporation in the rest because there were 2 names which were out there in the rest from the previous things because Conecuh was a combination of 2 things. Cost us $1,500.
Yeah, and you can appreciate the complexity of all that too. So
I do appreciate it and that stuff, but I'm just saying that the thing is that this corporation handled it and just one of the things they had said. So we'll talk about this later.
Great, thank you guys very much. On to our next topic. We got 3 questions with the topic of the board of directors. I think this one goes to Jerry, if I'm not mistaken, first. It says, for the next 2 years, do you believe you can devote the necessary time and resources to lead the CCA as president? And are there any conflicts or time limits which may impair your ability to function as CCA president?
Right now, I spend 120% on the club. I do have my affiliations with the other clubs, but they are very minimal compared to what I do with the CCA. I've never shunned any of the things that I had to get done for the CCA. I do believe that with the board, working with the board, you have to understand that there's 5 of us there and we all have an equal vote. You know this, Doug. You all have an equal vote. Okay. Even though I'm president, I still only have 1/5 of or 20% of the vote. Sometimes our discussions with the board can be very contentious because there's some very passionate people in our club, in our board, and they believe in what they believe. And that's not a bad thing because we need to have a diversity of opinions. We need to have that discussion. Sometimes it becomes a debate, but at the end, it's voted upon by the total board, and whatever we do as a group. I don't want to say that I hate anybody on the group, or I don't think anybody really hates anybody. I think it's just that we have differences of opinions, and sometimes it gets a little personal. But you know what? It's all for the good of the club. Viewpoints need to be presented. I mean, that's if we all agreed on everything 100%, I don't think it would be effective at all. And the one thing that bothers me and sticks it to me a little bit, and I know this, and I don't mean in disrespect to Mark, but I don't necessarily believe that any board member should be a vendor or a dealer, because I think there's a conflict of interest. Now, this is my opinion and not the board's opinion. Okay, I want to make sure that I understand that. Because when you look at dealer, and it's not necessarily what we think, it's what the dealers think, the other dealers. When they say, well, he's on the board, now he gets this and he gets preferential treatment. I can't say what they say, but I know that some of them think that, and I've heard that. When I walked around the convention 2 years ago, I talked to the dealers and they're saying, well, how come this and how come that and how come this? And I don't have good answers because, what I'm going to say, well, they're just as good a member as you are, but it doesn't look that way. And that's maybe that's some of the reason that we don't get some of the dealers back. Maybe they just feel like, why am I going up against a brick wall? Why does this person get this? And why does that get this? And why is this? And I'm not singling out anybody. I'm just saying, as a group, I think the board of directors should be completely devoid of any outside interests other than doing their board duties. And that means, like I said, the vendor and being a dealer. I think because you got to remember that the board of directors, they vote on appropriations, on money. And if you've got an interest in something and you're voting on it for money, that doesn't sound right to me. And that could be construed. And that's my opinion. And that's what I would like to see, but that's a different story. Okay.
Thank you very much. Mark, same question. Do you believe you can devote the necessary time and resources to lead the CCA? And are there any conflicts that you might have?
Like I said in some of the situation earlier, just before I got knocked off, that I am no longer treasurer of the Token Metal Society. I gave that up. one of the reasons I gave that up is because they were moving part of the operation and stuff to California, and their 501c3 requirements in California are a little bit difficult. I didn't want to deal with it and the rest. And then we found somebody who was the ANA treasurer, currently Larry Baber, who's very well known in that stuff, who's in California. He was treasurer one other time. He took over the position, which was fine. I've given up on some other stuff and the rest. I was offered a position to be an instructor at the summer seminar, which would mean I would have to stop coming to the convention altogether. I told them that with everything going on with the convention right now, I would like to stay in the rest. I don't think it's a conflict of interest. I will refer to the ANA and the rest. There are 5 dealers who hold tables at the convention, including the president, the and 4 board members who have tables at the convention. And this was brought up in the board meeting 2 times ago, on whether or not they could vote on issues where the convention was, on how much the table costs were, and all the stuff which were being brought up because they have a direct interest in it. And we went back and forth and we looked at their bylaws and the rest. And bylaws state that even if you're a dealer in having a table at the convention, you get your hotel, your airfare, all expenses paid for because you are a board member. Is this right? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I used to take tables at coin shows, selling coins and that stuff at Fun, at ANA, and the rest. And when I became vice president of Fun, at that situation, I found that my responsibilities as a board member outweighed that of having the table. So the thing is I gave up my table. I'm not against post giving up the table and that stuff. Remember, I have a partner who sets up with me, and I have Helen and that stuff. I don't see a reason why they can't hold the table there and the rest. Otherwise, I will give up the table and you'll have one less dealer, and that's not what I think you really want. I've also had the philosophy when I've gone into boardrooms, and I don't see this going on here, and I've always laid this philosophy down at the beginning. When you walk into that boardroom, you are there to conduct the business of the boardroom. If you are friends, if Jerry and I are friends, when we walk into that boardroom, no matter what is said in that boardroom remains in that boardroom. That is the business of the corporation. When we walk out, we should still be friends, no matter what's said. I could call them every name under the sun in there and the rest. It shouldn't matter because we're conducting the business of the corporation. And I live by this philosophy and the rest. And a lot of people know this when I've been president of other organizations, and it's worked out. The thing is that if there's been, board meetings are contentious and that stuff, sit in on an ANA board meeting and the rest. If you think the CCA is contentious, sit in on that with 9 different opinions. Yes, the thing is that I don't see a conflict of interest. I will reveal if there is a conflict of interest. ANA requires everything, and now the CONECA and TAMS are requiring you to sign conflict of interest forms before you come into the boardroom. Each new term and the rest, and you have to list if you have conflicts or not. So yeah, if something comes up in the rest, they should recuse themselves if it relates to them. But remember, conflict of interest is when you are making money off of the corporation, not as an activity, as a part of the corporation. And that's the difference between if you have a table or you don't. If I was making money from the CCA, if they were paying my way or whatever to come out to the convention, then you have to look at this as, well, I have a table, or I'm getting my table free or whatever. I'm not getting it free. But if that was the case, then that would be a conflict of interest. I'm paying the same price as everybody else. You have to look at this in that respect. If the board increases the cost of the tables and the rest, I have to pay those cost increases. I'm not going to sit there and vote against it. The vote should be published. Everything what the board does and the rest. If I recuse myself, that's fine. If I vote on it and the rest, and the membership will say, well, he's doing this, he is, there's a conflict there because he's not voting for the thing, or he's not looking at the best interest of the club, and then I should be voted out. but that's the way I look at it.
Well, I look at it from a different perspective. I look at it from what do the other dealers perceive? You know, and that's what I'm talking about is, you know, you obviously have ethics and that's great. And I believe what you say, but what are the dealers, the other dealers that aren't on the board? What are they thinking? And I think that's just as important, if not more. You know, if they look and say, well, he's getting special treatment or you're getting this, that might not be a true conflict of interest, but it's a perceived one. And that to me is just as important, I think. So I just, you know, I want to look at the other side of the coin, not necessarily from the hierarchy down, but from the bottom up.
I agree that perspective is outweighs facts and the rest, like I said, I said this in one of the posts and the rest, that I am willing to give up my table. I don't have a problem with that. If that is what everybody feels, and dealers come to and make that statement and the rest, I'm willing to give up the table. That's not a problem for me. I didn't do. If you really want to know why I take a table, it has nothing to do with selling anything there really, except providing the chips out of Florida. But it's not my main interest. I'm able to get on the floor to the other dealers and that stuff and be able to find inventory, or not inventory, pieces for my own collection, which I wouldn't be able to do. So that's the only reason I did it. So yes, if that's the problem, but it has been a policy of the past, the board would need to change that policy, and I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, well, that's good.
Thank you guys for that answer. The next one, which we're gonna start with Mark, pretty much is tied into the same question. You've probably answered most of these already, but I'm gonna ask this question. How do you describe your leadership management style? Is that the style you've typically used during your career? And is that the same style you would use as CCA president, or do you anticipate a change of style would be necessary leading an all-volunteer board?
You have to work with the board. Like I said, that they are the stewards of the money and the corporation. You're not there to make money. You're not there to do anything. You're the steward. So the thing is that I've held every position. I have been a membership chairman of 2 different organizations. I have been secretary. I have been treasurer. I've been vice president. I've been president. I know the positions. I understand what each duties are and the rest. And as being the parliamentarian, I now know parliamentary rules and stuff which needs to be done. And that's because most corporations follow that. I will bring these styles in there and that stuff and work with everybody who comes in, and also work with as new board members get elected or decide not to run and you replace them and the rest, you have to be able to work with them. You also have to get them up to speed. This is the one organization and the rest that if you run for the board, you automatically have a job. There are no board members in this organization. I would like to see that expand so that you bring people in and they can learn about the corporation and learn what's going on in the inner workings so that they can take over these jobs. So you don't throw somebody into a position that we are, that they don't know what's going on, because very little information is getting out to the membership.
Okay, thank you. Jerry, same question about the leadership management style and what you've done and how you see it.
In my whole business career, I've owned over 9 businesses, and I've always learned one thing, and plus companies that I didn't own, is that I'm hands-on. You have to be hands-on, you have to be involved, and it's not just being a part of the board, but it's also being part of the regular club and understanding everything that's going on and what we're trying to achieve. You can't not be involved and not understand that there's people that are looking towards you for leadership. There's people looking for you for validation. They want you to be acknowledged for what they do. When I've been involved with these other items that I showed you, the committees and that, I don't always take a leadership position. I try to go in there and set an example if I have to get people to come and do it on their own. We don't always have a lot of volunteers and people that want to get involved in the club, and we should have them. But if I'm there and you're actually doing these things with them, it hopefully spurs them to want to contribute more and get more involved. And I think that's the only way you can do it. I cannot see being the leader of something and not being involved directly with it. And I think it's important. You want to have that connectivity with people, and you want to show them that you're not just the big guy at the top. You want to show them that you're just like them, and I think that's important. We don't want to create some kind of a status of elite in the club. We want to show that we're all there for one reason: to have fun, to have a good time, to collect, to talk to people, socialize, and just get along. I think that's the most important thing. So that's my style, is always to be open like that. I listen to people. I'm involved. If you ask me, I don't think there's anybody ever asked me anything that I didn't say I would help them with. I've never turned anyone down, and I promise that I would never do that again, unless it's illegal. Then I won't do anything. But all right.
Okay,
That's-
next
that's-
question is pretty much again ties into the other two. And some of the answers you've given will be the same to this, but it says you'll be working with 4 other board members with this 5-person board, each having 1 vote in running the club business. Describe how you see yourself leading the board, working through issues, resolving differing opinions, keeping the CCA fiscally sound, and other such activities. I want to go to Jerry first.
Well, I said before, you have 1 vote out of 5. So what if when I present something, I try to present an opinion of why we should do it. I try to have some backup. Sometimes it doesn't always work that way, but you want to basically convince the other members that this is the best situation for us to do, or the best course of action. It's not always the most popular. A lot of people don't want to see change, but I think we're at the point now where we have to change because of our dwindling membership. We have to look at things a little differently. Try things that maybe we tried a long time ago, but we got to do them again. But it's a matter of learning to find common ground, and you have to do that. Now, sometimes the board members that we have don't get too involved, and sometimes they get involved, and sometimes they just sit around and watch the debate, which I prefer that they got involved. Everybody's got an opinion. They're a board of directors, so they're one of the directors. They need to open up and say what they think. And if they don't think something's right, then we need to go in that direction. I don't know what it was like in your administration, but I know that sometimes, you just want everybody to talk. You want everybody to get involved and say something so that if you're crazy or not. But it takes you have to have an attitude of, I want to get something done. I want to get this done. I think this is for the right. And you got to try to convince people. And then, I've done a lot of that. And sometimes I've had to take steps back, and that's fine. I welcome the debate, although it's, sometimes not looked upon like that. It looks like it's an argument, but I look at the debate because I learn things from that debate too. And you have to be open to that. You have to be able to say, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not right. Maybe this isn't. And if you can't do that, I don't think you're doing a good job. You have to be able to go with the flow in a certain degree.
Okay, thank you. And Mark, same question, being just one of 5 or 4 other board members, describe how you see yourself leading, working through issues, the other board members.
Having been with multiple organizations and the rest, with each board slightly different, Fun had, when I was president, had 15 board members. What is it? I deal with it, ANA, which has 9 board members. The thing is that as the president, you need to direct the meeting. I agree with Jerry in one respect, that sometimes I will take, when people consider it an argument and that stuff, when you're debating, and I will a lot of times take the other side of the issue and present that, because the thing is that it will give you a different perspective. You need to look at it from all sides. But the president and that stuff is the person who directs that meeting, and the rest. You need to ask each person to come forward and say something, and the rest. Sometimes you get people sit there and back and ask them, and they don't say anything. And you need to say to them, you have to come forward. Even if you say, I agree. And that stuff. And there's a thing in Robert's rules and that stuff and the rest, that the president does not give his opinion until after the rest of the board has given their opinion first. The president is not supposed to be the one who's telling them this is the way it is. They're supposed to be they're supposed to let the board make the decision, and they make the final thing. Even the president votes last in all organizations. So the thing is that if, these are the things. And the thing is that, if we look at this, if we want this to be a social organization, and that's all we want to do is be a social club, that's one thing. But we've expanded to the point, and that stuff, that we want to run with the big boys, and we better know how to play with the big boys. And there has to be a little bit more structure and a little bit more brought to that boardroom, because the thing is that otherwise we're going to be dead in the water.
Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us to the last topic I have. I got two questions. Hopefully we could wrap this thing up in about 10 minutes or so. Get on with our respective lives. This one deals with controversy and the club board. So I'm going to send this to Mark first. Says, given how divisive and damaging our message board has become over the last 12 months, what is your opinion of what you have seen, and how would you plan on curbing this in the future so we do not potentially turn away new members?
The question is whether or not, I don't know what they're planning in the new website, so I can't directly address this and that stuff, but there should be different sections. One for, members to be able to discuss stuff, and the rest business. I mean, there's, the thing is that it depends on what you allow on the board. The membership should have the right to voice their opinions or whatever. I mean, you're not going to stop. I have to go through this thing and the rest. There were questions, why didn't I come out and make statements to stop something, and the rest. The thing is number one, Jerry is the president. He should have taken the lead. I understand he was a part of the discussion, and we were back and forth with this and the rest, in the situation. Why did not the vice president step forward? Why didn't Jim Forrest come forward and take the leadership role? That is his position. When the president is unable to be in something, and he was directly involved with this, he should have come forward and said, all right, this is what needs to be done. We need to smooth this out. If there's a problem, bring it internally. If the people are upset and there's uncivility, there must be a problem, and you need to solve the problem. So and that's what I would do, is try to find out what that problem was and solve it. But I was not an officer. I am a member of this organization, and I posted the response of what went on that board. So I didn't attack anybody. I didn't encourage anybody. I have been in very little contact with anybody outside of my other areas right now. So it needs to be the board and the president who take care of this and the rest, and find out why they're upset and why they are, and that's what you need to do, is you need to squelch it and be able to squelch it quickly.
Thank you. Jerry, same question.
Okay. And I posted this to Mark in the middle of all this, but I had asked him, I said, I was having a hard time understanding who I was running against, because all of a sudden there was a lot of people on the board posing questions in an attack atmosphere. I did want to try to understand why all this is happening. Now, what I did was, on the board, I put my messages, which is basically what I wanted to tell people, what I had been doing and what I proposed. And those are the messages that got attacked. People were posing questions, why is this, why is this? And they're putting it in a negative political frame. And so all I was trying to do was present my platform. Now, I did send a letter to Mark, and he responded basically just what he just said now. But let me tell you what I would have done, okay? First of all, when I joined the club, I joined it because I liked it and it was fun, and I wanted to have a good time with it. And when you look at this, what all this is going on that board, it's demeaning, and it really doesn't send a good message to anybody that's interested in joining. But what I would have done if say they were attacking Mark, people that I would have told them, I would have taken the position of, look, you don't do this, you shouldn't be doing this, and if you don't stop, then I'm gonna drop out of the race. I would have done that, because I don't think this did anybody any good. Okay, and I'm not saying that because I'm the one that got attacked or I'm the one that had all these controversies, but I think that would have been the right way to do it. Now, as the president, okay, I'm answering questions and they're obviously looking to catch me or to say things that I shouldn't say or to make me look in a bad light. Okay, and the board really, I'm the presidential candidate. I'm not the president when I was answering those things. And if you look, I corrected myself on some of those replies that said presidential candidate because I wasn't speaking for the board. But I would have taken the leadership position and said, you guys need to stop doing that. That's not the right way to do this. You're not portraying the club in a good light. And if they didn't listen, then what does that tell you? Okay, because if you're going to try to run this club and be the president of this club, and then you've got this group here telling you what you can and can't do and who's going to run and who isn't going to run, what do you think hope to accomplish then? And then you have what, maybe 8 or 9, 10 people deciding who's going to run, who's not going to run, because they have an agenda. All right, where all this came from, there's 2 theories. One, because I sent out a letter to Mark mentioning that the Hall of Fame should try to be a little more inclusive in who they allow in, because there's a lot of people out there that should be in there that I felt should be. And so did the membership, because I got emails about that. And hopefully they're doing something. I did not tell them how to do it, when to do it, who to do it to. I just said you need to fix your system so that it's more conducive to letting people in that deserve to be in. That one. And then the other fact was that I supposedly said things to somebody that caused them to file a claim against me. And they lost that claim. So then they felt that they had to keep going at it. And why they put it on the board, the club board, is beyond me, because everything should have been handled privately. These issues should be handled privately and not on the board where everybody can see. Now, one of the things, and I'll let this out, and it's still, and again, this is under a proposal, under discussion with the board, but the new website, what the plan is we have 2 boards. One, a board like the chip board has, where you can do buying and selling and things like that. And then there would be a separate portal for club members, which you would need a code or your member number for active members, and you would be allowed to go in there. And so that would be a club members only. So you'd have basically 2 sites or 2 forum boards on the same website. And that would help eliminate people viewing club business, but also keeping the other side where it could be more social and also try to keep politics out of it, because I think politics have driven a lot of people away from our boards, especially I would think the chip board, but I don't know that for sure. That's David's deal. But this is just bad. I mean, I feel bad. I put all this time and effort into the club, and I do so many things, and I was hoping to leave with a legacy of accomplishing a lot of things, and there's this negativity is just something that's going to bother me. But you know what? After it's all that's left and done, I still love the club. I still want to be part of it. I still want to do the things that I think are good for the club and what I think is right. And that's what I ask, that everybody try to do the same thing. So that's all. I'm sorry I didn't go on too much.
That's okay. Which actually is like an awesome lead into the last question that we have here.
Oh, I got to repeat myself.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to start with Jerry. It says, considering that one of you will be unsuccessful after the results of the election are tallied, if you do lose the election and are not going to be president of the CCA moving forward, do you anticipate continuing your membership with the club? And if so, do you plan to be an active member or volunteer? And also, what messages do you send to those members who endorse you publicly or privately after the results are known?
Well, I've gotten
just kind of
emails.
answered that, but
I know, but I've gotten emails from members saying that if I lose, they're going to quit the club, and I told them, don't do that. That's not the way it is. If you want to be in the club, you should get more involved, if anything, and do it in a positive way. And I personally, I'm not going to walk away from the club. I've come close a couple times to thinking about it because of all the controversy, but in the end, I'm not. I will support Mark if he's elected, and if he isn't, I hope that he would get more involved in the club too. He's got some skills and some knowledge that could help the club in a lot of ways, and I'd like to see him, get involved. I don't have any animosity towards anyone in the club. I think that we all, there's good in everybody. Sometimes you just got to dig a little harder to find it, but it's there. And all the people that have made the controversy, they all have a passion for the club. I know that, and they care. They just have to, we have to learn to channel that a little bit better, but I don't plan on going anywhere. I might take a month off and go, based on what I do and how much time I spend, it wouldn't be a bad idea, but and then I also like to see you get more involved too, Doug, by the way, because you're not doing anything, and don't give me that. I don't want to hear that. You got some talents.
Take it from a guy who took a little bit of time off, man. This is freaking great.
Yeah, well, you're going to get back into it, I'm sure. Mark, get him involved if you win, okay?
Okay, Mark, same question for you. You want to go through it, or you want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay, okay. Considering that one of you will be unsuccessful after the results of the election are tallied, if you do lose the election and are not going to be president moving forward, do you anticipate continuing your membership in the club? And if so, do you plan on being an active member or volunteer? And what message do you send to those members who have endorsed you publicly and privately after the results are known?
Number one, I'm charter member number 6 in this organization. If I had wanted to leave, I would have left a long time ago. One is some of the things which may, what is it, and I would bring this up right now because it wasn't brought up, is how come I'm not a life member? Because I am a life member of numerous organizations, including the Iroquois Club and the rest. I joined back in 1974 for $150 back then, and the rest. It's been 44 years that I'm a member of that organization. So the thing is that life membership to me, I have a little bit of concern. I constantly paid my dues. I paid the increases and that stuff because that's a way of contributing back. I have also, over the last 6 years, 8 years being on the ANA board, learned to have a very thick skin and a very thick things roll off me. If I lose this election, I lose the election. I'm not going to discontinue what I'm doing. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. I've tried to volunteer. I've tried to step forward. We set up something which was 2 years ago where we were judging the exhibits and the rest. I was working with Steve Palumbo and Jim Folis and that stuff, and we came up with a criteria and that stuff, and it worked out well. This was not only the People's Choice Awards. We were doing this. I'm involved where I can. I will continue to give talks. If somebody says to me, will you give a talk? Will you do this? Will you write an article? I will do it. I will always step forward in the rest. Sometimes you have to, I say this, you have to prod me a little bit and say, hey, will you do this? Will you come forward in the rest? Because a lot of times when I have made suggestions and that stuff, they've gone by, well, we don't want to do that. We know better than you do and the rest, and you just walk away. You say, all right. That's the thing. So I've learned over the years and that stuff that if they come to me and say, we want this, I will do it, So, okay. Yeah, and I will, if Jerry wins, I will work with him. I will congratulate him. I don't have a problem. This is not a personality reason for I'm running. I'm running because I see a problem as this thing grows. And again, you have to go back to if this is a social organization or we're going to play with the big boys. And if you want a museum and you want to have this stuff, there are a lot of stuff which you need to lay the groundwork now and that stuff. And I don't see it. And I see it from the ANA of what their requirements are and the rest. And I see this organization doing it, which is totally contrary to what needs to be done, and to backtrack after it, because we will be denied grants. We will be denied a lot of stuff if we start applying for those.
Okay, well, that concludes our first session of the town hall. I wanted to thank both the candidates for talking with me, spending a couple of hours. Looks like we finished a little over 2 hours, so this was good. We can discuss, I'll discuss between you guys later on if we wanted to have another one in the future with any more questions, but this takes care of what we have on the list today. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Well, thank you, Doug, for doing this. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us also online. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Doug.
Bye.
Thank you.